welcome to another episode of Just Cooking with your host, me, Be the Maker, aka Bassam Al-Alawi. I'm so excited to show this dish today because it is one of the most delicious things I've ever made, okay? Well, at least for me, but I'm hoping you guys are gonna enjoy it. It's basically a macaroni baked dish with some beautiful ingredients. 3 different cheeses, elbow macaroni, a little bit of lemon, a little bit of garlic, and some dill leaves, and I'm gonna throw in some of these imitation crab things. They are delicious, right? So I suppose let's begin. Okay, so I have a pot of boiling water, or water that I'm trying to get to boil, right? And what I'm gonna do is salt it. I've chosen a durum wheat macaroni, or elbow macaroni, with very you see these serrated kind of edges here, so that they grab onto the sauce as it cooks, and you get some of that sauce in every bite. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna salt this water liberally, okay? You want this water to taste like the sea, okay? And then I'm gonna take one of my spoons, give it a mix, and give it a taste too, all right? So I've mixed that up. Still needs more. And you have to keep doing this, guys, if you want your pasta to be seasoned well and have some residual flavor from all that salt, right? So I'm gonna mix that up and give it another taste with boiling hot water touching my tongue. It's gonna be great. That was hot, but tasty. Okay, so we're ready for elbow macaroni. What I've chosen, why I've chosen this, is because I like the shape. I think it's fun. It's very nostalgic, reminds you of your childhood. But I made sure to choose a good durum wheat pasta. So I'm gonna drop that in there and then continue to talk your ear off. Right? Look at that. And this is gonna expand. I love that sound. Look at that. Sounds like Legos. All right. I'm gonna put that. What am I doing, right? Ta-da! That was easy. I'm just gonna give that a mix, not using the same spoon, using another spoon, and have it come up to boiling, right? That should cook. We want to cook this al dente because this dish is like a casserole type thing. So it goes into the oven, and if you overcook your pasta, it's just going to be mush, and you don't want that. Now, while that is happening, ever so slowly, there's always a thing with these induction tops. They are a pain, but we're going to move through it because that's what we do. So we're going to take some of that butter and another trusty spoon, and we're going to make a bechamel sauce. This bechamel, I like it because I add garlic and then I finish it off with some Gruyere cheese, and we'll talk to you about that a little later. So I'm gonna add, and I've preheated this pan, so it's gonna sizzle a little bit, probably injure me, but that's okay. We're used to that, all right? We add that in there. Now a bechamel utilizes something you call a roux, which is a fancy French term for butter and flour cooked together in a harmonious marriage that tastes delicious and allows you to thicken the milk that we're going to be adding in here. So what I'm going to do, and this is about 7 tablespoons of butter, and I've got about 1/4 cup plus give or take 1 or 2 tablespoons that I prepared here, and this is just simple all-purpose flour. It's nothing crazy. And we're going to mix that up. I'm going to increase the temperature because that's embarrassing. Yep, that should do. And what I like to do with my roux is have what we call, if you left this butter, added your flour, just cooked it out a little bit, and it has that nice, very tan color, that's a white roux. I'm gonna let that butter kind of cook and have those milk solids caramelize a little bit, and gives it a nuttier flavor, which is basically brown butter, right? And then I'm gonna add the flour and cook it out, followed by our milk, followed by our seasoning, followed by our cheese, followed by me eating it, putting it in my mouth, enjoying it, hopefully you enjoying it residually. It's gonna be great. So I'm gonna just give you that a mix. While this comes to boil, what I'm gonna do is prepare my dill. So this, I've chosen to add dill because we are adding a crab into this dish, right? So I have some freshly washed dill, and I don't wanna use too much of this because too much just makes it, I don't know, it's too herbal. You want just a touch of dill. So this amount is more than enough. We're gonna just gently slice that, lay that to the side, pick out any bits that I deem undesirable, Yeah, that's perfect. Look at that, the smell already. Just, I chopped it. You access those essential oils present naturally in these herbs. They're so good. And with the crab and the cheese, it's phenomenal. It just tastes so like posh and gourmet. It's gonna be wonderful. So I'm just gonna give this a rough chop. Pick out any brown bits that I don't like. And this is local dill, guys. This is grown here locally, and we're all about supporting local farmers, local producers, local everything, okay? So I give that a mix. I'm just gonna rough chop it. Nothing crazy. That looks wonderful. And you don't have to use the whole thing. And even if it's a fresh herb, I always like, and this will probably get stuck in my teeth, y'all. So good. Dill is nice with all kinds of fish. It's good with salmon. And speaking of salmon, we'll be cooking that sometime in future. All right. There we go. I think that dill has been sufficiently chopped. Look at that. Perfect. And I'm going to put it in that tiny little bowl here. There you go. That looks wonderful. Set it aside. These sun-dried tomatoes here, this nice red pasty thing, are just 3 or 4 pieces of sun-dried tomatoes that I've taken, roughly chopped. I'm gonna garnish the dish once it comes out of the oven, all right? Let's wipe our hands here. We are ready to go. Now, that butter is doing its thing. You can see it's slightly bubbling. All that white bits, all those white bits that are coming to the top are the milk solids. Once you start to get a bit of color on those, that's when you know, and you can smell it actually, that the butter has turned into this nutty, beautiful concoction because of the Maillard reaction that's happening, cooking the milk protein, right? And I can start to hear it now. I'm gonna give it one more turn. That sounds good. And once this all comes to the fore, and you're gonna come back and you're gonna see how beautiful it looks before I add the flour. Stay tuned for the rest of this because you can't miss it. It's a really good Ramadan dish and so filling. Next. So our butter has come up to this beautiful golden color. It's very nutty. I wish you guys can smell this. I've said this like 30,000 times now because I mean it. It has this caramelized smell. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna add the flour to the butter, right? And we're gonna give it a whisk. You know that the roux or flour butter mixture is ready when that raw flour smell disappears and it thickens up nicely, right? Would you look at that? Nice and foamy. Now for this, I'm not making a very traditional bechamel in terms of thickness. I'm going slightly lighter because I want this dish to, it already has all these cheeses. If you're gonna thicken the bechamel, it's gonna be really cloying, really heavy, and you don't want that. You can tell that it's bubbling nicely. I'm gonna smell it. Oh, that smells so good. Butter and flour, basic, but smell amazing. So I'm gonna whisk that up, and I've got my room temperature milk, which I will try and carry here in an act of acrobatic insanity, pouring it in without spilling any. Okay, let's see if we can make that happen. And we're gonna pour this like piecemeal, slowly, gently. There we go, there we go. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I'll bring it up to temperature. And you continue to whisk, right? Continue to whisk this. We bring the induction up. And so the thing is, I've chosen a durum wheat variety here because, well, that's the traditional type of wheat that is used in pasta, right? Or the creation of pasta. Durum wheat was introduced by Andalusian Muslims to Sicily as it grows in the Levant, Turkey. So basically, I've chosen a durum wheat variety for the pasta because, well, durum wheat makes the best pasta. And I've chosen an Italian brand for the pasta. Now, the thing with this wheat, it's nuttier, it's the way it's cut or ground is very coarse. And durum wheat is more endemic to the Levant region, Persia, and a bunch of areas around the Middle East. So technically, it's an import into Italy. I think they get it from the United States these days. But we make do. It's a nice fact that the Muslims of Andalusia actually introduced it and a bunch of other beautiful things like saffron and eggplant to Sicily. Now, I'm gonna just wait for this to come to a boil, and as soon as it does, it'll start to thicken. Once I deem that it is at the right thickness, I'm gonna add our cheeses. I'm gonna season it with some salt and pepper. And what I'm gonna do a bit differently is I'm gonna add some orange rind in here, right? Using a microplane. See you in a bit. So our roux / bechamel sauce has come together. It's starting to thicken. It's beautiful and glossy. And what we're gonna do now is add our Gruyere cheese. So I've chosen Gruyere because I love the taste. It's so nutty. There's so much umami. It's delicious. And what we're gonna do is take a little bit of that and just drop it in here, right? And make sure to continuously whisk. There are some brown bits that caught at the bottom, but I don't mind those. They're not burned and they'll give it like a really nutty flavor. I'm gonna add a bit more of the Gruyere. There we go. And it'll start to thicken even further. There we go. Look at that. Like I said, I am not making a very thick sauce. Let me just uncover this before we have an accident. There you go. Our pasta's ready as well. Let's just offset the cover a little bit. You can see they almost like quadrupled in size with all that seasoned water. It's gonna be delicious. What I'm gonna do now is just let that just sit. I'm gonna prep some garlic. So the garlic is optional. I like it because it flavors the bechamel really well and it's delicious. So I'm just gonna take, you can use 1 or 2 cloves, it's fine, right? I'm gonna take that clove of garlic, okay, that hopefully a clean knife, smash it, open it up, cut off the end, add a bit of salt, chop it up just a little bit, and then I'm going to use the flat end of the knife just to mash it up. So you get a quick garlic paste, which you can add into the bechamel. You don't want chunks of garlic in this. It's not going to be pleasant. You want this to kind of simmer and cook and infuse the flavor. I'm just going to use a clove today because I want just a subtle hint of garlic. I don't want it to overpower. All right, there we go. Look at that bechamel. It's coming together beautifully. It's bubbling, it's thickened. And by the way, guys, the reason we used milk at room temperature is I don't want it to be lumpy. I want it to be as smooth as humanly possible. And I think that that's almost ready. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna add some lemon rind. So I've got some lemons here, and I'm gonna use a microplaner because it gives you the finest shred of lemon rind. Look at that, and it gives it some freshness as well. Let's go overboard. I love lemons. Just gives it a whole nother dimension, especially with the crab and the dill. It's like a semi-seafood type dish. There we go. I give that a mix. The bechamel is super smooth. It looks lovely. And what I'm gonna add now is a black pepper and nutmeg mix, all right? So, black pepper and nutmeg. And I'm using black pepper because I love, and nutmeg because I love to see the flecks in the bechamel. It just makes it look so like, I don't know, Moorish. Okay, and what I'm gonna do now, set this aside, use my tiny little spoons over here and give it a taste, just to check the seasoning. And I did not season with any salt, but I did add cheese. Okay, I can get the freshness of the lemon, I get that cheese, but it does need some salt. So I'm gonna use a bit of pink salt and a bit of kosher salt. There we go. Give that a whisk yet again. Give it a taste. Again, you will continue to taste this just to make sure that it's all seasoned really well. Spoon 2. There we go. More salt. Okay. 1, 2, and let's keep it odd numbered, guys. We do like an odd number. There we go. Now, we have salted the pasta, so you don't want this too salty. And the cheeses, now I've chosen a Gruyere, which is an Alpine cheese. It's slightly hard. That's phenomenal. a tiny bit more salt, and we're done. Tiny bit more pepper nutmeg, and we're done. Okay, I promise we're done. I promise we're done. That is perfection. Now, we just set this aside and let's drain our pasta. We don't want that to overcook. I'm just gonna shut this off. The sound is so bloody annoying. Can we say bloody? I don't know. I move this to the side. There we go. And what we're gonna do now is drain the pasta. Now, I don't got time to pour this all over the sink and have it steam in my face and give myself an unintended facial with really bad consequences. So what I'm gonna do is I have this little frying slot thing, and I'm just gonna gently, easily just drain this into this bowl, right? And hold it offset because it will steam, and you don't want it to steam in your face. Look at that pasta. It almost quadrupled in size, right? It's perfectly seasoned. It's al dente. I can tell it's al dente because one, it's only taken about what, 9-10 minutes. And by the way, the older the pasta, the more time it takes. Fresh pasta cooks within minutes, if not 1 to 2 minutes. And I can tell as I put this in, it has a bounce to it. So I know that it's not overcooked. It's not turning into mush. And all those, you see that like the holes and the like serrated sides of it, it's gonna like hold on to all that bechamel and it's gonna be glorious. There we go. Look at that. Wonderful. When we're back, we're gonna layer this with bechamel and it's gonna be delicious. So you caught me eating some of this delicious, well-cooked pasta. And what we're gonna do now, before we build it all together, is take out that imitation crab that I told you about, that I've been defrosting in the fridge, and it's gonna be really tasty. I think it adds like the right type of fishiness to the dish. You see what I did there with my back arm thing? It's brilliant. That's what you call a professional. So I have some imitation crab over here, and we're not gonna add too much of it because we don't wanna turn this very fishy. And it's not really fishy if you defrost it properly. The way to defrost this is not to put it in hot water, otherwise it will turn into mush. Okay, you wanna defrost it in the chiller or at room temp and very gently. Now, let's build the pasta dish. All right, what am I doing? Let's make this easy, yeah? We're gonna take some of that, and we're gonna gently nudge them in here. Look at that pasta. And what we're gonna do is layer it, right? We're gonna do a layer of sauce, a layer of cheese, and I told you in the beginning that I've chosen 3 types of cheeses. They are white Scottish cheddar, a very hard Alpine cheese, Gruyere, and the Fontina cheese, which is a very melty, soft rind cheese. It's so good. All of these together give you the right kind of umami and nuttiness that you need in this dish, all right? So, I have layered one nice line of pasta over here. And I'm gonna take the salt. I almost forgot. We're gonna take the dill that I chopped earlier and gently drop it in the sauce. I mean, look at those colors. Doesn't it make you happy? It makes me happy. Right. I'm just gonna give that a quick mix just to incorporate. So, I've layered one layer of pasta and I've covered it with our dill, lemon, garlic, bechamel, Gruyere sauce, and it's looking great. I have some Fontina cheese here, and I'm gonna just sprinkle it on top, right? There we go. And I'm gonna grate more cheese on this. This is a very cheesy dish. And, because we can, some Gruyere right on top. Look at that. My God, that smells incredible. All right, gonna move all these like little cheese bits and then layer more of that elbow macaroni on top. I've left some of the water in there because it gives it some slip. I'm gonna use this just to maneuver it around so I have an even spacing. And what I'm gonna do, I don't think I'll fill this whole way. I think this is a good amount of macaroni. Yeah, for the bechamel that we have. Why not, right? So I'm gonna now pour this all over the top. You know, pouring bechamel on anything just makes you feel like life is happy. And you know, if you hear a phone ringing in the background, that's all the people calling who want to have this dish, right? Because I've got people trying to try all this food that we're making today, but we're not gonna give them any because the crew is hungry. give me looks and everything. Okay, so we're gonna take every single ounce of that bechamel sauce that we can get. And then I'm gonna tip it over and pour the rest in, yeah? Look at that. Oh my Lord, it's gonna be a happy Ramadan tonight. Right. And now, as promised, I'm gonna just move this aside, just right here. I'm gonna take that leftover macaroni. I'm gonna shake this up just a little bit, just to make sure the sauce is everywhere. And I'm gonna layer it with a bit of that dill, right? We are not done yet. Remember that crab I told you about? What we're gonna do is just drop that in there and kind of squeeze it in, all right? Now you can mix this into bechamel, but I like it to crisp up on top just a little bit. If you don't, that's fine. Just mix that in there. Oh my Lord. And it's gonna be covered with a layer of cheese. It's gonna be covered with some olive oil. It's gonna be covered with some happiness. It's gonna be delicious. So our pasta has been in the oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. For the last 5 minutes, we turned on that top grill so we can give it a nice browning. And now is the time to take it out of the oven, garnish it, and enjoy it. Hopefully, it's gonna be a nice golden brown, super delicious looking. And as always with these ovens, I have to kind of maneuver to make this happen. That's the sound of goodness ready. Oh my God, if you can only smell this. Now let me see how I can get this out of here. There we go. We got it. Would you look at that? And I didn't kill myself in the process either. Okay, that, my friends, is our crab dill bechamel sauce pasta, but it's not over yet. What we're gonna do, just as a final touch for sweetness, for flavor, is I've got some chopped sun-dried tomatoes here, and using my freshly sanitized hands, I am going to sprinkle it on top. And this gives it just a burst of sweetness and just a touch of color. And then we're gonna use some of the rest of that dill just as a quick garnish, and then we're done, ladies and gentlemen. I can't wait to dig into this and try it. It looks phenomenal, it's bubbling. I can hear that sound. There we go. Well, yeah, what the hell, let's do it all, right? Living dangerously and all that. And a bit of dill for some green. Would you look at that? I'm hoping you have decided and resolved yourself to make this dish, because just from it, my nose is eating it. It's delicious. And I'm hoping you'll think so too. I'm wishing you a very blessed Ramadan, filled with a lot of gratitude and family. Stay safe, stay humble, and stay hungry. See ya.